Something is already in motion, and I don't mean in a vague, theoretical, someday maybe kind of way. I mean right now, in conversations you are not in rooms you have not entered yet. In the invisible architecture of your next chapter, something is being arranged with your name attached to it. I want to be careful how I say this, because I will not make you a promise that isn't mine to make. I cannot tell you the exact day, I cannot tell you the exact form, but I can tell you this: every season of preparation ends. Every wilderness has an exit. And the pattern that shows up in every great story of unexpected elevation, the same pattern showing up in the details of your life right now, always ends the same way, with an offer. An insane one. One that by every logical measure of your current circumstances should not be possible, and yet it will be, and yet it is. Brace yourself, chosen one, not in fear, in readiness. Before we go any further, I want to tell you what is waiting for you on the other side of this video, because what I am about to lay out is not a general encouragement, it is a specific map. By the time you reach the end, you will know exactly what the 5 signs look like that show you are being positioned for this kind of moment right now. You will understand why everything you went through in the season behind you was not random, and why it was actually the most important preparation of your life. You will know how to recognize the offer when it arrives, and what internal state makes the difference between receiving it fully and letting it pass by. And there is one more thing at the end, a discovery from the world of neuroscience that almost no one in your position knows about, and it directly affects whether your mind is sharp enough to catch what is coming. Stay with me all the way through. What is here is for you. Now, let's talk about who you are, because that is where this story actually starts. You have been waiting for something, not just hoping, actually waiting in the way your whole body holds still around a door that has not opened yet. You check things, you refresh things, you watch for signs. Some days you feel it, the nearness of something big, something that would shift everything, and you can almost reach out and touch it. Other days you wonder if you imagined the whole thing, if the call you sensed was just your own longing pretending to be a voice. I am not going to rush past that. The waiting has been real. The silence around it has cost you something that no one saw. But here is what I want to add to that reality today. Because the place you are supposed to be is also real, and something is actively, practically, right now, moving you toward it. In ways you cannot yet see, through a person you may not have met or may not yet recognize for what they carry. Someone with real power, real influence, real access to the doors that matter most in your next season. And they are being moved toward a moment with you, not by coincidence, not by luck, by a timing that has been in motion longer than your patience has been tested. So before we talk about who they are and what they bring, we need to talk about the 5 things already happening in your life that tell you this is not wishful thinking, because the signs are already there. You have just not had a language for them yet. The first one is this: somewhere in recent weeks or months, something in you has become more clear about what you are actually for. Not perfectly clear, but clearer than before. The fog that used to sit over your calling, that blur between "I think this is what I'm meant to do" and "I'm not sure about anything," it has been thinning. The direction, the specific shape of what you carry, is coming into focus in a way that feels different from before. That clarity is not coincidence. It is a navigational system being calibrated for the journey ahead. The second sign is the unexpected connections. People are finding their way to you through odd circumstances, through conversations that opened for no obvious reason, through introductions that came from unlikely places. You did not engineer most of them. They just appeared. And some of them carry access. Some of them hold keys to rooms you have been trying to enter for a long time. This is not random. When a powerful offer is being orchestrated, the human connections that will carry it begin to move into position first. The third sign is the restlessness that will not let you stay small. You know what I am talking about. It is the feeling that keeps surfacing no matter how hard you try to settle for where you are. The quiet knowing that you are built for more than this, that the place you are currently standing is not where you are supposed to stay. It is not arrogance. It is not dissatisfaction. It is a compass pointing in the direction of the life that is already being prepared for you. The fourth sign is harder to describe, but you know it when you feel it. Underneath all the uncertainty, underneath all the doubt, there is something that does not move. A quiet confidence. A knowing that has no logical basis given your current circumstances, but simply will not go away. Something in you knows. It cannot be argued out of it. It cannot be discouraged out of it. And that knowing that immovable thing at your core is not manufactured, it was placed there for a reason. The fifth sign is that your dreams and your instincts have been getting more specific, not vague impressions of something good happening someday, specific images, specific scenarios, specific faces or situations that keep returning. When the unconscious mind begins to run specific rather than general, when it begins to prepare, it is because something concrete is approaching. You are not where you're supposed to be yet, but you are not where you were. And those 5 signs tell me you are standing exactly where a person stands, right before the most significant door of their life opens. Now I want to tell you something that almost never gets said about this kind of season, because most people, when they talk about the waiting period, talk about patience, about learning to be content, and there is truth in that. But there is another truth that matters just as much today. The waiting was not only forming something in you, it was clearing something around you. There is a reason why the people who receive insane offers in the great stories of history were never people who went straight from comfortable to elevated. Not one of them. Every single one went through a wilderness first. And the wilderness was not a mistake. It was not punishment. It was a custom curriculum designed specifically for the assignment they were about to carry. Think about Joseph, 17 years old, with a dream so large it frightened even the people who loved him. Thrown into a pit by the people closest to him. Sold, imprisoned, forgotten. And not for a week, not for a month, for years. And then, in a single conversation, in a single morning, in a single moment, when a man with the power of a nation behind him turned and said, "I hear you can interpret dreams," everything changed. Not gradually, all at once. The pit to the palace, in a day. What the Pharaoh saw in Joseph that morning was not luck. It was not the result of Joseph finally networking correctly or positioning himself well. What he saw was a quality of mind and spirit that can only come from having been broken down and rebuilt. A clarity that only forms in someone who has stopped needing external validation to know who they are. A steadiness that only belongs to a person who has learned to hold their calling without needing the world to confirm it yet. Joseph was ready, not despite the wilderness, because of it. And then there is Esther, hidden behind palace walls, her identity concealed, her true name unknown to the very people she lived among. For years, she prepared in ways that no one else could see, not knowing what she was being prepared for, not knowing that the moment requiring everything she had been forming was already approaching. And when it came in a form that looked like an impossible situation rather than an opportunity, a crisis, a threat, a moment that demanded she become, in one breath, more than she had ever shown herself to be. For such a time as this. That phrase is not a comfort verse. It is a precise description of strategic positioning. It means you were placed here, formed here, hidden here, prepared here for the exact moment that is now arriving. Not a similar moment, not a moment like it. This one. I want you to hear that for yourself today. Because you, chosen one, have been in your own version of that hidden preparation. And what has been formed in you during this time is not small. There are 4 things the wilderness built in you that are about to matter enormously. The first is discernment. You know now, in a way you did not know before, who actually wants good things for you and who only needed something from you. That difference will protect you when the offer arrives and the opportunists begin to appear around it. The second thing it built is groundedness. You do not need external validation to know who you are anymore. You have had to carry your own identity through seasons where no one was confirming it for you, and you are still standing. That kind of internal stability is exactly what is needed to hold what is coming without it destabilizing you. The third is capacity. You can hold complexity now. You can hold contradiction, pressure, uncertainty, and still move forward. 2 years ago, the weight of what is about to be placed in your hands might have collapsed you. It will not collapse you now. And the fourth thing, the one I want you to sit with for a moment, is alignment. You and your calling are no longer moving in two different directions. Something has shifted. The life you have been living and the life you are meant for are converging. And that convergence is not accidental. It is the final phase of preparation completing itself. You are almost ready. Not almost worthy, you are always worthy. Almost ready. There is a difference. And in part 2, I am going to show you exactly what the offer looks like when it arrives, who is carrying it, what it actually asks of you, and something about that last part is going to reframe everything you think you know about this moment. Stay with me. Let me tell you something that most people get wrong about a moment like this. They think the offer is something that will arrive and announce itself clearly. They think they will know it immediately, recognize it on sight, feel certain the moment it appears. And because of that belief, they are not actually prepared for what a real life-changing offer actually looks like when it first shows up. It does not always arrive wrapped in obvious success. It does not always come through the front door looking exactly like what you prayed for. Sometimes it arrives as an unexpected conversation. Sometimes it arrives as an invitation to something that feels slightly too large for where you currently stand. Sometimes it arrives as a moment of eye contact across a room with someone whose name you do not yet know, but whose presence changes the atmospheric pressure around you immediately. This is what I mean when I say brace yourself, not because it will be frightening, because it will feel insane. And by insane, I do not mean impossible. I mean disproportionate to where you currently stand. Think about it this way. What Pharaoh offered Joseph was wildly disproportionate to where Joseph was standing that morning in a prison, forgotten, without a single visible credential. What the king's favor offered Esther was wildly disproportionate to her visible position in that palace. The offer was not matched to where they were, it was matched to who they had been built to become. And that is the key. When the offer arrives in your life, and it is arriving, it will feel too big for the version of you that you are most familiar with. It will feel like it belongs to someone else's story, someone more polished, someone more ready, someone who has not made the mistakes you have made or spent the years you have spent in the wilderness. But here is the truth. It is not for that person, it is for you. Because you were not being overlooked all this time, you were being built for exactly this. Now let's talk about what this offer actually reorganizes in your life, because it does not touch just one thing. When this kind of offer arrives, the kind orchestrated by something larger than chance, it moves through your entire life at once. The first area is your relationships. The person who arrives with this offer does not only carry what they are bringing, they carry access. Access to circles you have not yet been part of, to conversations at levels you have not yet reached, to other people who carry keys to rooms further down the road. When the right connection arrives in the life of someone like you, it does not open one door, it opens a corridor. The second area is your purpose. This offer is not only financial, it is a platform. It is the moment where what you have been quietly building in the hidden years, in the formation season, in the preparation that no one was watching, finally finds the place where it can be seen and used and make the impact it was designed to make. The abilities you thought were taking too long to matter, the depth you developed in solitude, the resilience you built in the wilderness, all of it was preparation for an assignment that is now approaching. And the third area is provision. Resources, finances, doors that have been sealed, these begin to move. Not because you finally worked hard enough, not because you finally earned it, but because alignment has a material dimension. When your life and your calling begin to move in the same direction, what was locked begins to unlock. That is not magic. That is a pattern as documented and consistent as anything in the history of people who receive this kind of moment. Now, I need to tell you something about the person carrying this offer, because who they are and what is actually moving them toward you is more layered than it first appears. On the surface they are human, a mentor, a collaborator, an employer, a connector, an investor, someone with influence and access in the arena that matters most for your next season. They are real. They will have a face and a name and a story of their own. They will arrive through a conversation, an introduction, a moment, a door. And when you meet them, something in you will know. Not in an anxious way, in the way you recognize something that was already yours, the way you recognize a piece of yourself you forgot existed. But here is the deeper layer, the one that changes everything. That person is not moving toward you on their own steam. The Pharaoh who called Joseph to his side did not wake up that morning thinking, "Today I am going to elevate a Hebrew prisoner." He woke up disturbed by a dream he could not understand. And a servant remembered a name he had forgotten, and a moment unfolded that no human could have planned or manufactured. The king who could not sleep in the story of Esther did not decide to review records of kindness that night out of strategy. Something moved him. Something arranged the night and the restlessness and the records and the moment in a way that no coincidence can fully explain. What is moving the powerful person toward you is not their own intention alone. There is an orchestration happening behind the visible level of events. Call it God, call it divine timing, call it something that functions like intelligence working through circumstance, and it has been running this sequence longer than you have been watching for it. This means two things. First, you cannot force it. You cannot manufacture the moment, or engineer the connection, or make it arrive on your timeline. It is already in motion. Second, you also cannot miss it unless you are in the wrong internal state when it arrives. And that brings me to the obstacle I need to name. Because there is one. Not outside of you. Inside. There is a voice. You know the one. It activates exactly at the moment of good things approaching. It says, "This cannot actually be for me. Something will go wrong. I will find a way to ruin it." People like me do not receive things like this, and that voice, if you let it run unchecked, does not just make you feel bad, it makes you act small. It makes you hesitate at the exact moment that requires courage. It makes you diminish the offer, question the person, second-guess the timing, and retreat back into the familiar shape of a life that was never meant to be your permanent address. Here is what I want you to do right now, before we go any further. I want you to locate that voice. Not to fight it, just to find it. Notice where it lives, in your chest, in your throat, in the tightening you feel when something genuinely good begins to approach. And now, I want you to say this silently to it, just once, in the quiet of wherever you are. I know you are trying to protect me, but I am not the same person you formed yourself around. The season that created you is ending, and I am walking through this door without you. You don't need to say it out loud. You don't need to write anything. Just let that land in the place inside you where that voice lives. That is enough. That is the preparation the next step requires. Now, let me show you who you actually are when you are standing at this door, because it matters more than you think. The person who receives an offer like this is not just lucky, they carry something specific, something that the powerful person and the force behind them recognizes before the person themselves fully sees it. You are someone who sees what others miss. You perceive patterns, connections, possibilities, and warnings that people around you overlook. This is not a small thing. This is the exact quality that makes you useful to someone who is building something that requires that kind of sight. The offer will make sense to them in ways that it might not immediately make sense to you, because they can see what you are capable of from the outside. without all the internal noise that makes it hard for you to trust yourself fully. You are someone who already knows what you will build with what is given to you. You are not simply waiting for a resource. You are carrying a blueprint. An incomplete one, yes. A blueprint that still needs materials and time and the right conditions. But the architecture is already inside you. When the offer arrives, part of what will make you say yes is the recognition. This is what I needed to build what I have been carrying. You are someone willing to go somewhere no one else has gone yet. That is what makes you a pioneer in this moment. The offer will not take you somewhere well-trodden and safe and already mapped. It will take you somewhere that requires you to trust your own discernment more than the validation of people who have never been where you are going. And you are someone who receives elevation to serve, not to be served. The offer is not a destination. It is an assignment. And when you carry it as an assignment rather than an arrival point, it will do things in your life and in the lives of others that exceed anything you have yet imagined. How do you know when the offer has arrived? There are 3 things to watch for. The first, it will align with the thread that has run through your life the entire time. Even through the detours, even through the wrong turns, the through line will be unmistakable. The second, it will frighten you in a particular way. Not the fear of harm, the fear of scale, the fear of, what if I actually do this? What if it actually works? That fear is not a warning. It is a signal. The third, it will ask you to become slightly more than you currently are. Not more than you are capable of. More than the version of you that formed in the waiting. And that stretch is not a mismatch. It is the point. Now, I need to tell you something that reframes everything we have talked about up until now. The offer was never just the moment when the powerful person steps forward. The offer began the day your wilderness started. What has been extended to you this entire time through the delays and the losses and the seasons of being overlooked and the years of building in places no one was watching is the original offer. The invitation to become someone who can hold the life that is now approaching. Every part of it was the offer. The pit was part of the offer. The prison was part of the offer. The hiding was part of the offer. Because what was being given to you was not resources, it was formation. And formation takes time, and it takes the exact experiences you have had. Think of it this way, there is a sealed letter. It has your name on the front, not written in pencil, not added recently written before you knew you were waiting for it. And for years that letter has been making its way to you, traveling through circumstances and people and seasons, finding the route that would get it to the right version of you. Not the version of you that existed before the wilderness, not the version that would have opened it too early and not been able to carry what was inside. The version you are right now. That letter is arriving. The person who carries it is already moving. And nothing that has happened to you, nothing that was taken, nothing that fell apart, nothing that seemed like evidence that it was never going to come, has delayed it by a single moment. It arrives exactly when it was always going to arrive. For such a time as this. Before I close this out, there is one more thing I want to share with you. And I say this not as an advertisement, but as something I genuinely believe matters for where you are going, because what you have built spiritually needs to have a counterpart in your neurology. Here is what I mean. One of the most documented findings in neuroscience over the last 30 years is the existence of a specific brainwave frequency called gamma. It runs at the highest speed of any brain state, and it is the state associated with peak intuition, with sudden clarity, with what researchers call the eureka moment, that sudden recognition when a solution or an opportunity becomes visible that was invisible a second before. Scientists from MIT, Harvard, Princeton, and a number of other leading institutions have confirmed something troubling. This frequency, which children have in abundance, and which is linked to the kind of rapid learning, creative leaping, and intuitive recognition that makes a child seem almost magical, begins to decline around age 7. Not because something goes wrong, Because the modern world, its systems, its rhythms, its constant low-grade noise, gradually overwrites the conditions gamma needs to run. Researcher and neuroscientist Dr. Robert Lake, after more than 3 decades studying this, called it simply the decline effect. And he spent the last portion of his career working on one question: can it be reversed? The answer he found was yes, and what he developed is not a meditation practice, it is not a supplement, it is not a program that requires months of discipline. It is a 7-minute audio track that uses a technology called brain entrainment, precise sound frequencies layered in a way that the brain naturally synchronizes to. The way a tuning fork causes other objects to vibrate at the same frequency. You listen through headphones, you close your eyes, 7 minutes, and the gamma frequency begins to reactivate. He called it the genius song. Now, to access this technology properly, to access it the way that actually carries the full brain entrainment used to require what they call biofeedback therapy. Sessions that cost $300 per hour, or the home equipment, which runs around $7,000. And even traditional meditation, which can produce some gamma activation over time, requires months of consistent practice that most people never sustain. Dr. Lake compressed the full technology into a single track available as a digital audio file, delivered directly to your inbox. The standard price is $49. For the people watching this video, he has made it available at $39, a price that exists nowhere else, not on Amazon, not anywhere. For $39, you receive the 7-minute track, plus 4 additional resources at no extra cost. An audio track specifically designed for children's brain development, a book that directly inspired the creation of The Secret and goes deeper into the financial principles behind it, $20 on Amazon alone. Included here, for free, a guided visualization walking you through the 4 areas of your life you most want to see shift, and a printed infographic of the 5 most important daily habits for building the life you want. Everything backed by a complete, unconditional, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. No limit on how many times you use it before requesting a refund. You take absolutely no risk. One important thing before you search for this: there are currently a significant number of counterfeit sites and imitation products using the name Genius Song audio files with no actual brain entrainment technology embedded, just ordinary sound with a label. They have no effect. The only way to ensure you receive the genuine product with the full technology, the 4 bonuses, and the money-back guarantee is through the single link I have placed in the description and the pinned comment of this video. Do not search for it on Amazon, on YouTube, on Spotify, or anywhere else. The link is there when you are ready. Now, let me close with something that matters more than any of that. You are the seer. And you will recognize the offer when it arrives, not because you got lucky, but because you have been learning to see clearly for a long time. You are the builder, and you already carry the blueprint. The offer does not give you the plan. It gives you the materials for the plan that was already inside you. You are the pioneer, and what you are being called into is somewhere no one in your immediate circle has already been. That is not a disadvantage, it is the assignment. And you are not lucky, you are positioned. Those are not the same thing. Luck is random. Position is the result of everything you endured, everything you stayed faithful through, everything you kept building when the evidence for continuing was thin. Take a slow breath right now. Feel whatever is in your chest, the hope, the weight of it, the years of waiting beneath it. Hold that for a moment. And now, from wherever you are, I want you to speak this over yourself quietly, not out loud, just in the space where your own voice lives inside you. Say, I am ready. Not ready because everything is perfect. Ready because I have been formed for this. The letter is on its way, and when it arrives, I will recognize it, and I will say yes. May what has been sealed for you arrive in the form that requires exactly who you have become. May the powerful person who carries your next chapter find you in your full readiness. May the offer that arrives be greater than the waiting was long, and may you hold it, all of it, without shrinking from a single part of what you were always meant to carry. The letter has your name on it. It always has.